Hello, hello, my Soulpreneur Life family and friends. We are here with another off the cuff series with Bryan Miller. Hello, hello. We just want to carry on this conversation. So last time we were here, we were talking about the new year and all of the, the common phrases like new year, new me, and the weight that phrase alone carries. And now here we are moving forward into 2023, a little bit further, new month, and really wanting to reflect on the exhale, right? Because a lot of times we hold our breath when we are feeling overwhelmed. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling like quitting, what is keeping you going? And I don't want to be one of those people who's like, what's your why or whatever, but honestly, that's what it is, right? So what keeps you from quitting? We kind of want to touch on this topic to help pour into you today, to help share some guidance, some love, some all of that goodness. So do you want to go ahead and kick it off, Bryan?
So thank you, Kendra. We're into February now. We came into January, like you said, hot, like we were going to change new year, new me. I guess all the shiny stuff, right? It's a new year. We're going to bust out of this thing and we're going to live it, right? And now, we were reflecting on how sometimes January could be like the worst time because all the overwhelming life circumstances catches up with us. Like, I feel like right after like January 15th and on, right? And how do we deal with that? And what makes us get up in the morning and not quit, right? Is it our family dynamics? Is it, our mental? But I would say, like, I think you've mentioned this before, is like the consistency and the discipline, right? And it goes back to what we were saying on the last podcast, is that trying to do a routine for 30 days or 45 days. So that way you don't quit. And I think it also goes back to like we were talking about, like who you surround yourself with. And I think you could touch on this where you were mentioning that you just proposed that question the other day of why haven't you quit? And so I'll let you elaborate on some of that.
Yeah, I'm excited to share that. I was a guest on someone's podcast and her question was, why do you not quit? Or why do entrepreneurs, what is it that keeps them going, keeps them moving? And I don't like to speak for everyone, of course, but from my experience, for some of us, the only way out is through. Quitting is a luxury. In my mind, from childhood until this moment today, quitting has always been something that is a luxury. It's not something that is, oh, well, I can just quit because I know someone's there to pick up the pieces. Oh, I can just quit because I know that these things, if they're going to fall apart, but it's okay, and I'm not here to shame anyone for having community. I'm not here to shame anyone for having support or for having huge amounts of money in their bank accounts all the time so that they have that luxury of relaxing into their lifestyle and starting and stopping and doing all of that. But for some of us, like for me, my mental health, my physical health, and being a single mom, being a disabled Army veteran, having appointments and trying to raise my child who is very important to me. And I don't want her to carry on with my stress, with my dramas, with my traumas, or any of those things, and trying to be a good present parent for her is always at the forefront of my mind, always. And so if I only give her what is left of me at the end of every day, she's not getting the best of me, right? I'm giving the best to the world around me. And then in my home, I'm causing dysfunction and imbalance and the opposite of health, right? So for me, I have to keep balance and I have to keep going because I understand how important that is to me. I understand that quitting is not something that is for me personally on my journey and for my soul and what I'm here to do and create and how I'm here to love on people. And so with that being said, it morphs and it changes words when I share it in different ways, right? But at the end of the day, it's really about what is my body and heart telling me that is the most important according to my morals and my values and my passions and following that. So
I would add to that too, is like, if somebody's on their journey and they're thinking about quitting, I would argue that if you have an inkling of like, I can't do it, this is hard, and you're thinking about quitting, I would tell you that you're on the brink of birthing whatever you were struggling through, right? You're on a brink of birthing an accomplishment, right? Because we go through those stages of like entrepreneurship and business and maybe even gym, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think when it really gets hard, I mean, really like to that point where you're questioning, like, should I? Or I would even argue there's going to be people that are around you that are like, this is dumb. Like, I can't believe you're doing this. Like, you know how much money you're going to lose, or why would you do something like that? Just those negative words.
Mhm.
And it's going to feed into that negative pool. And it's going to feed that piece of your brain that's like, you know what? Screw it. But you're just going to fall. Like, if you're listening, I would just tell you that if you have that inkling, put one more foot forward.
Yep.
And see it through. Just, I promise you, like when I took on this business venture, and I've mentioned this before, is that I started with a truck, which I just traded in my other truck. I took on a bigger payment. I bought a trailer and I put some plywood on the side of my trailer and I put a mower, zero turn. I had no money for it. So I just took on a trailer payment, a mower payment, and a bigger truck payment, insurance, establishing the business, all the money that goes with this, and my wife and everybody around me like, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? And oh, by the way, when I did that, I'm on like 3 months until I go into the winter. And my wife's like, well, how are you going to survive in the winter? What are you going to do if you can't mow lawns? I said, guess what? I'm going to figure it out. But guess what? I knew I had a trailer. I knew that I had some mowers. And then we started getting in the wintertime and I bought a chainsaw. Like I made some more money and I reinvested in the company and I bought a chainsaw. And then all of a sudden I had customers like, hey, I need my trees trimmed. And more money kept. So what I'm saying is continue pushing, even though that you're like, you got to try different avenues, especially today, right? Like the road is not straight. The road is not straight. It's not flat. It's going to be roller coasters. It's going to be left turn, right turn. And I would argue when you think you're going to take a right turn and your GPS in your mind is saying, hey, right turn and 30 feet, right turn in 10 feet. All of a sudden at 2 feet in, sorry, recalculating. You got to take a left turn.
Yeah.
Right. And the GPS of life is just follow it. Somebody's going to like that. There's going to be something else in your brain or the good Lord above saying, hey, no, you're trying to do it your way. We're not going right. We're going to go left. And I need you to follow me on this journey. And along that way, like you're going to run into people. I always see this too. Like I've done it so many times with mowing, right? Like I'll just run across some older lady and she's like, and trust me, and I've got like 20 clients I got to get done, right? And this old lady's like, hey, could you mow my yard? I don't have very much money, right? And I stop what I'm doing and I go help her because I'm like, she just got placed in my life for a reason. And a lot of times if I know that they don't necessarily have the money or whatever the case, I just tell that young lady or that older lady, hey, don't worry about this one. You've blessed me in my life. Or some of the older ladies I've had, they've said a prayer for me. Thank you for helping me out. I couldn't find somebody. I'm like, you just continue praying for me. I'll get you on the other end, right? But those are some of the things, right? You run across people, you don't know why they're there, but they're helping you to get over that boundary of quitting.
Yeah. And that's something that I love that you've mentioned too. There's a couple of things that came to mind, and a lot of times equate everything that they do, that exchange as being a monetary exchange because we use money to survive in today's world. But so often it's the network that you're creating. It's the light that you create in someone's eye. And when you're really in your zone of passion and you're doing something that you enjoy doing, you create your own community. So that goes back to that environment, right? And I had a mentor, a business mentor, share with me, whoever has your ear has your future. Right. So be careful of what people are saying around you. And it could be something as simple as someone saying, oh, your little business, how's your little business doing, or something like that. No, I got a big business. I got a big business. Don't talk down on yourself, and allow yourself to celebrate what it is that you're creating and dream big and do all of that, because what you're going to do is create space for the people who will help you be in an environment to pour nourishment into the seeds that you've planted, right? Into the dream that you've planted. And that will eventually evolve your community and your network, and it will shift and it will change and it will look different in a year from now, and 6 months from now, and 5 years from now, because as you continue to grow, you become someone that is pouring and nurturing into other people, whether you realize it or not, because people are always watching. But you're also allowing yourself to cultivate a community where you can grow, where the soil is good, right? And I think that that's really important, because a lot of times people are like, why am I cycling through this? Why do I keep having the same conversations and doing the same thing and getting the same results? But they're not going out and they're not meeting new people. They're not going out and changing their environment. They're not taking the risk on themselves and trusting in their talents, their skill, their abilities, their ability to bounce back in the event of adversity, right? Like you said, you bought the trailer and winter was right around the corner, right? And then you got the chainsaw, and then other doors started opening. And a lot of times people are so afraid to take that first step because of what our families and our friends and all of those around us who we care about, right, what they have to say. But sometimes they are there for a season and they have to, kind of back up for a season, and then maybe they come back later on. And that's totally okay. It happens to all of us as we create that dream life, that dream business.
And, I don't know if you've seen this TV show, but it comes to mind. That Alaska Life show, basically, they're up there in Alaska, and that's where they live.
Brother,
And
I lived in Alaska. I don't watch shows about Alaska. I was so happy to leave Alaska.
Right. But what I'm bringing up is that this TV show shows people that live there, and they have nothing else. What they have is what they have to live on, right? Chopping trees down. They've got to hunt and they got to fish. And that's that, and they have to get ready for the next season, right? And so what I mean by that is that trust the process, number one, right? You started this for a reason. The process is going to be long. Just because you're a year in business doesn't mean you need to be at the 10th year and the first year, right? And you got to trust that process and live in the moment of that growth. And then just easily just think about the next season, right? Kind of like that TV show, they got to think about winter because that's the harshest time for them. And they've got to stack up in the summertime on food, and because they know they're going to be snowed in and can't get out, firewood, all that stuff. So what I mean by that is that trust the process, trust yourself, like you were saying, and tell yourself every day, I got this. Like, I have this, pump yourself up. Like, you got there. Like I was just saying, like I started with the trailer, right? And I started reinvesting. I'm 3 years in the business now, and I've got 6 different trailers now, dump trailers, 2 skid steers. Like, I've really launched. And I'm still not there. I'm only 3 years in. I consider myself still a rookie, a baby in the business, right? Because there's a lot of guys out there that have been in it for 10 or 15 years. That doesn't still make you insignificant. Because guess what? I have a lot of those guys that surround me. And I do not ever hesitate. I'll call them. I don't care if the question is ask them, hey, what kind of tire did you put on your trailer? Yeah. They're like, what? You got 4 or 5 tires. You don't know what kind of tire? But that's just an example. Don't be afraid to ask your circle for simple questions. It's like me coming to you, Kendra. I could easily be that, crazy guy that goes, well, I was a first sergeant. I was in charge of her. What could she, bring to me? And that's the dumbest thinking I could ever possibly think of, because you've done leaps and bounds on your entrepreneurship, right? That I could learn life lessons from, right? Because you've touched so many platforms and people following you and stuff. So I would just remind people, be humble, trust the process. Everybody you have in your life is there for a reason. Be positive towards them and be wanting them to win just as much as you want to win too, right? Like I want Kendra to win all day long. Like I want to wake up and I want to see Kendra like the next, legend on podcasts and Entrepreneur Magazine, whatever the case. I want to see that. I want to see her have maybe her own TV show, whatever, right?
I wouldn't want
Right?
that eyes on me.
But I'm just saying, like, those are the blessings I'm throwing on you, right? As a team, right? And so why wouldn't we want our circle to grow? Even and you shouldn't get bitter. Oh, well, they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, they didn't tell me about that. Who gives a crap? You're on your own journey, right?
And
You're on your own journey.
That's beautiful that you shared that too. And first, let me pause and say thank you for wishing me well. I wish you well too, of course, always. But we go through cycles, right? As entrepreneurs, and it's the fastest route. It's like one of those, you remember those water slides we used to go down as kids, like where you go down and when you just
the
like
silver ones, the silver slides that they don't make anymore. That hurts your tailbone.
Those in the actual slides in Fresno, like that weren't the water slides, those used to burn your butt. But yes, we went down those pretty fast too. But when you decide to become an entrepreneur, it really is like you are shooting down a slide of professional and personal development, because you do have to step into humility and being humble and learning from people. Man. And I thought I had experienced a lot in the military with, men who didn't know how to work with women. And I was in charge of a communication shop, and some of the men were older than me and they had never worked for a woman. And so that was something that I had to dive into, talk shit about, do my thing, hold my own, and like get that respect and have them also learn a lesson along the way so that they didn't give the next woman a challenge. Right. And it's the same in our journey as an entrepreneur. There are going to be people who are younger than you who learn from you. And there are going to be people who are younger than you that you learn from. There are going to be people who just started their business that suddenly found massive success, but they don't know how to hold on to it yet. So they can still learn something from you, right? There's all of these different things. There's these varying factors. And I realized during different seasons of my entrepreneurship journey after leaving the military, there were times where I had fast success and it was incredibly demanding and overwhelming, and it did not provide me the mental freedom, the emotional freedom, the freedom my body needed to recover from injury to sustain it, right? So that's why I often say sometimes what we think we want is not what we actually need. And allowing myself to sink deeper into gratitude was a part of my season of preparation. So like you mentioned the Alaska show, right? And how they go through cycles every single year, every single day, just like in the military, they have a battle rhythm, and they know during these months we plant, we harvest, we prepare, we do all of these different things, right? And business is similar to that. You go through cycles and you understand how your battle rhythm looks for you and your business. But that also applies to your personal life. That also applies to your mental health. And so you have to prepare yourself for things to change. And a lot of times people believe that when they start their entrepreneurship journey, it's looking one way, when really it's so much bigger than anyone could ever imagine. Yeah. And so when you allow your mind to open up to that, your heart to open up to that, you start allowing the people who want to pour into you, who have the ability to pour into you, to support you, to teach you or guide you in whatever way. That just makes you shine brighter. And it helps you be more successful. And your focus, then you'll notice like your focus suddenly shifts from, I have to make $1 million a month, $1 million an hour, right? I want all of my bills paid. I want to be able to volunteer. I want to be able to give back. And I want to just feel good and at peace. Yeah.
Well, I think like, it's great that you mentioned that too, is that just because I started in landscaping does not mean that that's my destination, right? It's just something I started with just to open the doors, right? And something to start work, right? And keep my mental health. But back on quitting too, you brought up a thought, on that brink of quitting too, is that is that point of quitting, is that just another challenge that you just need to go over that hurdle, right? And I would tell you that if you're going to be an entrepreneur or own a business and you're comfortable, then you better get ready, because there's going to be another challenge, another brink of you. Oh, I wasn't prepared for that, right? Like, what is this, right? Like, just like what I mentioned about Alaska, like or just right now with Texas, right? For example,
Yeah.
it's freezing outside. Texas is shutting down, right? Do we ever expect, well, some of us do expect like certain days to be shut down, right? But like, those are seasons. And so, I do have jobs that are lined up, but they're all outside, right? But that doesn't mean I can't still like make phone calls to my previous customers that I just got done. Like, that doesn't mean I can't research some marketing strategies while I'm in the house.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I can't stop what I'm doing, shut business off, and go do something with my kids while they're out of school, and take that moment to do my, family stuff. Right. So there goes that balance that you were talking about, is that, it's all it's like a 360-degree thing once you start this, because it's all like tentacles coming off of you to level them off. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And something that I want to mention is, because I know I know how I was. So speaking from my own experience, when I was very much in this go masculine, let's get it done energy, because that is where I thrive. That is where I am like champion, right? I'm a Capricorn. I'm a leader. So if you give me a list of things to do, you don't have to tell me the inherent tasks that are a part of something. Like, I already know. I'm already doing checklists. I'm already double checking. Someone could tell me no, and I'm already around the corner being like, well, this person told me no, but we're going to do it this way instead. And we're doing the workarounds, right? Yep. So finding or giving myself permission to also find balance in my life required me to learn how to rest. It sounds absolutely insane to say out loud. But during this, a part of it is incorporating rest and restructuring so that you can have that pillar for your family or for your spirituality or for your religion to also be fulfilled, right? I had a therapist do this kind of like a pie chart with me. Oh my gosh, it's been years ago now. And it was like, you do like 1 through whatever number, maybe 10 or 5 or something. And it's supposed to come out to a full circle. And it was like, my pie was just like a quarter of a pie. Like it was so lopsided, because I was so focused on, well, if I can do this for I was married at the time. So my husband, if I can do this for our finances, like I was all about saving and building up his credit and my credit and doing all of these things. But then all of the other pillars started to create an imbalance, which carried over into my entrepreneurship journey. I'm like, well, I'm not going to focus on my mental health. I'm going to drink to numb the pain, and I'm going to work on building residual income so that then I can spend better quality time with my family and friends, or then I can do these things, right? But when I learned, no, it's all a part of it. If you don't incorporate it while you are building, and even like a day, an hour, a week, whatever it is, in small increments, right? Bite-sized pieces. Then when you do get to that thing, is enough going to be enough for you? Because I've seen it again and again and again, especially with some of my clients when they find me and we do like one-on-one mentorship and things like that, right? They're like, I finally made $10,000 a month in my business, or I finally hit this income goal, but I'm so burnt out, or I'm feeling this way, and all of these other things are falling apart. And it's because they didn't build a life that supported those other things. They didn't build a life that supported them resting intentionally, where it replenished their body and they didn't feel guilt or shame. So they were constantly in that go, do mode. And then they're like, well, why is my business stop and go? And it's because your energy is stop and go. It's because your mind and your heart is stop and go. And I know there's all the science behind it is like men are on 24-hour cycles. So like men function in that capacity a little bit better than women who do the 28-day cycle, right? So some days I'm like top of the world. Let's do it. Let's do all of this. And then other days it's a hard pep talk to do all of the things. And so I had to learn myself, here we go again, right? Personal development, learn myself to create a schedule within my business to allow that flexibility. And so if anyone is listening to this, my takeaway for this big long tangent that I've just been on is to understand that you have different pillars in your life where you can feel totally depleted or totally fulfilled. But write that shit out, write it out. How do you feel about spirituality or religion? How important is that to you? Your morals, your goals. Do you want to incorporate any of those into your business? How do you feel about your family relationships? How often do you want to spend time? Like my daughter and I, every single Friday night, we have movie date night. My calendar is blocked off. No one's allowed to book me when I pick her up from school on. And that is her time because we've communicated her needs, right? And she is my number one priority. So my values put her above everything else. And even though I have squirrel brain, I have squirrel brain that's like, oh, I need to get on AWeber and do my email list, and I need to do this and I need to do that. I have to ground myself to be present for her, for our relationship that I find more important than anything, because business will always come and go. Money will always come and go. But the way that she feels, the way that I feel, the way that we are creating a life together is more important, right? And so just remember that you have different pillars of your life that you can pour into at different times. And maybe right now, family is the most important thing. Maybe right now, finances are the most important thing. But communicate that with the people in your life or the different buckets of your life, right? So that it can support what it is that you're creating as you continue to expand and grow. And I'm only sharing this not as like, oh, I know everything and do what I'm saying, but just from my experience and what I have walked and learned the painful way, the expensive way, because I've lost money doing certain things the wrong way, or seeing my clients come to me and learning from their lessons, because that is also how I also take in information, is by learning from other people and then like reorganizing that and then moving forward, right? So I just wanted to say that, just give yourself some space to do that, because your gifts, your passion, your values are always going to be a part of your calling. But if you're not clear on those things, if you haven't created space for those things, how are you going to create from that space instead of creating from a space of desperation or panic? Or like you mentioned the Google layoffs earlier today too, right? And the tech and all of that. And that then creates more entrepreneurs because there's a desperate feeling like I have to pay my bills, I have to do this, I have to do that. So instead of creating from a place of passion, you're creating from that need, right? So it's often really fiery, really quick, and then it's, can I sustain this? So.
Well, a lot of times people get on that kick, right? Kind of like you mentioned, and then, or if I do this, if I can get to this, if I can get there, if I can make this much money, we can be here, right? I would tell you this, just to encourage our listeners, right? You do not have to have it figured out. But to go back to what we just mentioned on our last podcast is that, and you deliberately put something on your calendar, right? And that's key, right? Deliberately put something as a stop, right? Of like, nope, today is this, and stick to it, right? And then if you do it over 30 days to 45 days, you just started a what do you call it? Not a trend, but
a new habit, formed a new
habit. You formed a new habit, right? But it goes back to that communication, right? Block out something where if your wife or your spouse is not necessarily supportive, right? Block out a time where here's a key point too, is let's just say your spouse is not necessarily on board with your whatever you're doing, right? Know your spouse and hit them when it's on a happy time, right? Not a turbulent time for both of you, right?
So they can be open.
Yes, right? And have that communication and say, hey, next Thursday on my calendar, I blocked out the whole day with us. Kids are at school. We're going to go to lunch together. We're going to go to somewhere that's no noise. It's going to be a picnic, whatever. You make the right, place, right venue, whatever the case, make it deliberate and open up and have that communication of, this is the journey I'm going on. This is what I'm running into, right? And you might be surprised of what they like give back to you. Hey, you've been a jerk. You've been doing this. Or, hey, I saw you make these decisions. I don't necessarily think they were right for you. What if you tried it this way? Right. And so you don't have to have it figured out. Number one, you don't have to have a right out the gate business plan or this, that, and the other. But I would just say, try to be somewhat deliberate with your 30 and 45 day, whatever journey you're going to go on. Be deliberate with your calendar, right? Writing it on Post-it notes. I don't care what you come up with.
And there's so many automation tools now, whether they're free or paid, that you like. I know some people, especially people who are neurodivergent, start to get overwhelmed, right? Or they'll set like a million alarms and reminders and such, but there's automation in there to support us in this effort too. So it's not you physically having to go in and do that every single time. So I just wanted to interject that as you continue.
And then when you're talking about the pillars, right? Some of your pillars may support the other ones. For me, like I always pray, my spirituality is way up there, right? I believe that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Right. And then that trickles down from there, with my family and stuff like that. But see how your pillars support the other ones. You may not have to try so hard. And at the same time, like if your family dynamics is not very much, there's family life coaches, spirituality, there's preachers, there's find you a church. You don't have to go to the first one and go, this is it. Right. Find one that fits your whole family. I've went to church for many years by myself, just to do it for myself, right? And so you just gotta, I don't know. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody listening knows that like this is only month 1 of 23, right?
Well, so now we're in month 2 now.
But month 2, right? Starting today, right? And for our listeners, I don't want you to think that like, oh my goodness, 1 month. That's only 30 days. Yeah. You know what I mean? We got 11 months to get through 23. What's that season? What is your season going to look like? Right.
And write it down. Sometimes people have a hard time looking for the big picture. So write down for the first week or the first 3 days. And, when is enough? That's a question that I often find myself asking, not just myself, but my clients as well. Like, when is enough? Because sometimes people get so almost manic, right? With, I need to create more, I need to do more. And then they start spending more. And so they can't slow down. They start living outside of their means. And so they can't do that thing that they want to do because now they have an obligation. And this goes back to Sarah Robinson again, like we were talking about him before the call, but he did what was the review that they did with our LES when we first came in as privates and all that. And he broke it down because we didn't have an available platoon sergeant at the time. And he was like, you always want to live 1 paycheck below your rank, right? Don't spend more than you have. And I always tried to apply that. And I was married at the time and privates did not make much. So that didn't happen until I think I hit like E3 or something like that, where I could live a paycheck below my income. But it was always in my mind, like, don't live outside of your means. And when I joined the corporate world after the military, which didn't last for very long, I was having conversations with these young people who were making probably about $50,000 or more a year, which is a great income when you're coming straight out of school, right? And they were living outside of their means, and they didn't really have anyone to guide them in the way they could have really benefited from it if they had, right? And I think looking at a lot of things that people show online, I don't believe 99% of what I see online, because I know a lot of it is staged, or things are rented, or things are bought on other people's expense accounts and blah, blah, blah. But there are a lot of young people who go into debt trying to become an influencer, for example. Like I read
and I go back to that thing, like, if you don't know money, go get a CPA, right? Like, go find someone or a financial planner. I know a lot of people are.
To invest in people like that because they think, oh, I can't afford it, but they don't realize the cost of not doing it. There's a cost to everything that you do, and there's a cost to everything that you don't do. And, when is enough? when you get to 10K a month, for example, because that's a common goal for a lot of the business leaders that I work with, or 25K, then what? Will it be enough? Will you want to go through that for 12 months, 24 months, or will you want to grow that? Will you give yourself room? Like, will you clear out your debt before you go and you do these other things and all of that? Because you really have to get clear. When I start making X amount of money every month, will I be fulfilled? Will I then go pour into my cup or my pillars in these other areas? Or am I going to be so distracted by the money that I forget the other byproducts and the other areas of
something that works for me? I mean, granted, I do look at the money, right? And I make sure the bills are paid, but I don't get hooked on that. I don't get that hooked at all, right?
Yeah.
But I also look at my ventures, right? And I've got like 5 different business ventures going right now, right? And every venture supports itself. So if there's a truck, trailer, or whatever with one venture, landscaping, whatever the case, those monthly expenses are supported by that venture, right? And I've learned and I've taught myself that I don't necessarily touch it, right? Like, obviously my bills are paid in that venture. And I try to take, I think the key is like, do you want to take like 20%? Like, you want to get to a point where you're saving 20% of your overall earnings for the month, and then put that somewhere else, invest it, right? For me personally, I use like Edward Jones, right? I have an advisor because I'm not a financial guy. I'm not, but I went and found somebody. And I think that's the key with everybody. Like, if you started in January and you had to go to the gym, or you had to go to start a business, or whatever the case, there are so many. YouTube University is what I call it. Like, YouTube has so many things that could teach you, but there's financial advisors, there's CPAs, there's gym. Like, if you're going to go to the gym, you get a personal trainer. Like, you don't have to do this alone. And if you feel like you're in a place of being alone, and you're crazy if you're alone and in this by yourself. Like, you're crazy. Like, I ask people stuff every day. Heck, I was texting you like 5 or 6 questions yesterday, right? Like, I don't know what to do. It's like that funny thing when we're in the Army. What do I do with my hands? Right? Right? Like, but ask your friends, like, yeah, right? Like, what do I do with them? Right? And so, like, just ask the questions like that. Like, if you're on that brink of quitting or challenge, have you asked those questions? Like, I'm stuck. Because guess what? You don't have to recreate the wheel. I guarantee you, if you're starting a new venture, somebody else has done it. Somebody else has done it. Whether that be business, gym, you name it. Somebody's wrote a book on it. Somebody's done a YouTube channel on it. Somebody's walked that path. And you're sitting back here, on your ego or whatever, and don't want to ask questions. Well, then you're setting yourself up for, for that wall to get hit, right?
And that's where we were talking about overwhelm earlier today too. A lot of the New Year resolutions and goals, and New Year, new me, and all of that aspirations, it can lead to funneling into overwhelm, because you start to realize, like, reality is here, right? So you're going to have these things that are demanding you to show up to fulfill whatever it is that you said you were going to do, right? And when you allow yourself to have that community, when you allow yourself to kind of tap deeper into that community, then you don't feel so isolated or alone, because you have people who can guide you, right? And you can expand on that and share.
Well, the thing is too, is that, like, I've seen people, they go on this journey or whatever it is, and then they want to go in a corner somewhere and like cry boohoo and, oh, woe is me. Get your ass off the chair. Go ask these questions. Like, quit feeling sorry for yourself. Because guess what? Just like the military, right? Military says, who's going to take care of your career the best? You. Exactly. You are going to have to get your ass up and go do your records, go take those classes. If you don't ask the question, then how do you ever know if you're going to go to the next step?
Exactly.
Just like going to the bank. Can I borrow $50,000? No. I'll go to the next bank. You know how many banks are in my town? And guess what? You're going to find a bank that will lend you the money one way or another. You may have to do some paperwork, but guess what? You're going to find a bank that's going to support you. I guarantee you go to a CPA. Hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Can you do X, Y, and Z? No. Okay. Go to the next one. Right. Or go to a personal trainer. I want to make my butt bigger, whatever. Right. like whatever. Right. Like, well, I don't focus on that. Well, go find another one. Right. Right. Or find a YouTube video. Do it at home. Right.
And that no is what you have, that no is your resistance when you're an entrepreneur, right? That no is often that resistance. It's not always. I'm just kind of like,
yeah, the
hearing
no
what you're
is,
saying.
well, the no is someone that obviously you don't need in your circle, number one, or they don't know, like, because I've seen it where I'll go in somewhere and I'm dirty. I look like a bum. And somebody's just like, no, just because they're like, why? Like, okay, you obviously don't need to be in my circle. You are not willing to help any human being, right? Then I'm going to find the person that's willing to help me in whatever capacity I'm in, right? So I look at no, like, no is the weeding out process of who you should have in your circle, right? It goes back to what we were saying in our last podcast. If you have a flat tire, just for example, and you call those 3 friends, you'll find out which friends you're going to call, and they can pick up the phone and be like, I'm there, like I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Right. And so that goes back to that weeding out process of like, okay, you said no. Great. But guess what? I'm going to leave your number in my Rolodex and you're going to say yes, probably. But for right now, you're not in my season. Next person.
Exactly. And, you can't take those things personally either, because you never know what someone else is carrying when you need them. Right. And I have an example of this in my own life that I can refer back to, where I had to tell one of my family members, like, hey, I'm just getting out of the military. I'm incredibly depressed and my body is in pain and I'm trying to figure out motherhood. My kid is like 2 going on 3. Everything is chaotic and I'm moving from Alaska to Texas and trying to get my stuff from North Carolina. I am stressed out. I do not have the capacity to hear you complain or all of these other things that are going on, right? Like, I love you, but I just can't do it. And I didn't say it in a very nice way, but I still said it out of exhaustion and just, hey, I want to be here, but I can't be here, right? And that you have to learn to be okay with that, because we each are growing and learning and evolving and all of that too. So don't take it personal. If someone says no, if a business says no, if a family member says no, find the way around, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back to for some of us, the only way through hard times, the only way through the no, or to, get through the season that you're in, is to get through it, to not sit in it, to not wallow in it, to feel what you need to feel, scream, cuss, yell, and then keep moving through it. Because if you just sit where you are with that one no, how many famous people have been on interviews where they say they went on hundreds of interviews and got hundreds of no's, and then they have this one movie breakthrough role and suddenly they're bazillionaire and worldwide known and all these things, right?
Well, here's the other thing too. Like some of my associates that I still talk to that have became really good associates with me, right? Some of them said no originally. Yeah. But what I did is I said, hey, if at any time in your capacity, if you need help and I can help you, just give me a call.
There's that humility again.
And they're like, what? And I've had some big construction companies, big ones, that called me and be like, hey, we got this project. We would like you to take it on because we're not in this capacity to take it on. And I'm like, and here I go, like just in my head, you mean me, little like company, like this company? You want this company to take on that project and you're good with it? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. But
have you heard of the phrase stretching friends? I know you called them an acquaintance, but like you have friends who are stretching friends. So they stretch you and help you grow, right? They pull you out of your comfort zone.
I love it.
That's the importance of networking and community.
Yeah. And so that's the other piece, right? Is that like, if like a project presents itself. Like, for example, when I go to a person's house, I have learned this because it's so many people that start out, I believe, try to do this. When you go into a customer's house and they need, let's just say, a wall painted, right? The number one thing that they've got you in your house for is to ask you, like, okay, well, how much is it going to cost? Right? They want to know. I have learned and taught myself, and I think I watched it on a video somewhere, right? Take a pause and say, look, I need to go sit down and run some figures. Take a pause, go get in your truck and pause, write down your figures, make sure you have your measurements right. But what I'm getting by that is that sometimes when something has presented itself to be a bigger challenge, you may not even have the freaking equipment for it or whatever. And I've been there, right? I may not even have the tools in my tool bag, right? But what I did in some of those circumstances, I called all those people that I know, and I'm like, hey, can we make this happen? And how can we make this work? And so before you say no to yourself and a decision that could actually bring you to the next stage, do an azimuth check. I just call that, like the military, like basically find your heading, right? And see, like we've talked about before, that stretching friend, this challenge or this opportunity that just presented itself, it presented itself to you for a reason. Somebody has seen something that you're not seeing or you're not reflecting on, right? And because of that, somebody's like, this person could actually help us. I see it in them. Okay, I need to give them a phone call. So don't automatically go, there's no way we can do that. Be confident in yourself.
I'm sure we can all relate to this too, but this is something that I've learned over my business and having various price points, right? People often look for ways to disqualify themselves.
Yes, all the time.
Right? So they're like,
yes.
And so they want you to tell them, oh, it's going to be $100 for this. I'm gonna paint this wall for $100. I don't know how much it is, but I'm just saying, I'm gonna paint this wall for $100. Right? And they're like, oh, well, I could go get a can of paint for $12 or $20. I can just do it. Okay. But what is the transformation of that wall being painted and you not having to worry about it? Of you not having to go buy all of those tools because the painter already has it, right? So a lot of times, like, especially with how I work online and how I work with people, I try to let them know, okay, what is your pain point? What is it that you are feeling frustrated with? Or, what are you recycling that doesn't feel good? And let's walk you through the transformation of what that could look like. Right? That way you can see the value in the collaboration or the podcast or, one-on-one coaching or spiritual work and healing and things that we could do together. Because people will always look at, well, this is X amount of dollars. I could just go do this. I don't really want to do it. And it's going to sit here for 6 months waiting on me to do it. And I could just, I know I'm just not going to do it, because people are always seeking ways to not pay or not invest in that transformation that they want, because they don't understand the value of that just yet without you breaking it down for them.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
That's a really big component too. So even when people are looking at their personal development or professional development, what is that transformation going to look like when you start understanding, like, hey, I don't know how to do marketing, but I have this person that I can lean on. Or, hey, I don't know how to do business taxes, but I know that I have this person over here who can do it. Hey, I felt really unmotivated today. My body is in pain. My mental health is a little shaky. Maybe I need to take a mental health day. Maybe I need to go ground outside. Maybe I need to go fishing. Maybe I need to go for a walk with the kids.
Or who's that guy that you always call and they can make you laugh? Or what, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, right? Like it's that disqualifying yourself is huge. I think we do it in so many aspects of our life sometimes. Like we say that we're not, oh, I don't know if we're good enough for that aspect or that situation, whatever it is, right? And that's where I'm saying is like, peel yourself back and be like, I don't care if you got to go, you know what? I am the shit. I am that person. Like I'm getting asked for a reason for this situation. Like, why am I not saying yes for me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, think about that, right? Like, why am I not saying yes?
Yeah.
Like, why do I not want to be that happy person on another level?
Yeah. And then when you start doing that, and it goes back to what you mentioned about your acquaintances initially saying no or not right now, right? What that does is, okay, I'm going to be my own hype man now. I'm going to continue to reach out and allow other people to support me, perhaps strangers. And then when they start to see these strangers supporting you, or they start to see reviews, or they start to have other feedback, suddenly people who were ignoring you or not messaging you or answering your calls or whatever are suddenly blowing you up because they see the value in what it is that you are creating. And, I can say I've been really fortunate with some of the mentors that I've had over the last few years, because that was a really hard lesson for me to learn initially. I was like, why wouldn't my family support me? Or why wouldn't my friends support me when I'm always hyping up their businesses? I'm always sharing their stuff. I'm always, the biggest, loudest cheerleader. Even if I don't understand what they're doing, like I'm still hyping them up, right? But that's in my nature, as it's in your nature, right? Like we want to see the people around us win, but we have to understand that not everyone is as comfortable celebrating others because they haven't gotten to that point in their own development. And then there's a little bit of imposter syndrome or fear, because if you've come up from the same roots, they have to really check themselves in their own development and say, how are we coming from the same place, but you're there and I'm here?
Well, it goes back to that whole, like, there's people that want to, well, they say, stay up with the Joneses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They want to, I could give a crap about that, right? Like, I'm my own, like, competition per se, right? I don't look at, you know how many landscaping companies there are in this area? There's like hundreds, right? You know how many like remodel companies there are? There's like, I probably know 10 of them, right? But guess what? If I know I can't do it, right, or get to it, but I know another guy that can do it, I may not necessarily like the guy, right? But it's business. But guess what? I know he does beautiful work, better than where I'm at right now in my stage of my life. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to recommend that person, right? And so what I was about to say is, like, we always try to hype other people up too, right? But you bring up a good point. We never know what those behind the scene parameters are that they're dealing with. And so I always try to, the principles of, like, I just try to treat everybody the way that I want to be treated. Always, right? Always. I tried to do my best. I'm not perfect. I know I've made a lot of people mad, and understand you're going to make people mad, and you're going to have lots of haters. You're going to have so many haters, but guess what? I smile at them. I shake their hand, and I'm like, hey, continue doing you, continue doing you, boo boo. Like, hey, I'm going to do me. Hey, we pass ways. Hey, I'll still recommend you. And they're like, why would you recommend me? I'm hating on you. I don't care. I'm treating you like I want to be treated, right? Because I know in that capacity, one day you may actually need me, and it's okay, right? It's okay. And that's what, I don't know. Like, I just want people to, like, win for themselves. You know what I mean? Don't be in the capacity of, like it goes back to what we were just saying about the haters and stuff like that. Like, sometimes people get so caught up on how others think of them, right? And then that self-confidence, or saying no to themselves before they even see the situation through, because they're thinking about everybody else around them. Stop thinking about everybody else and just win for yourself. Why are you saying no on yourself again, right? When you're thinking about haters, or what are they going to think? Like, for example, right? And you know me, like, I've always, for example, when I was in the military, when I made Sergeant First Class E7 and I made First Sergeant E8, right? I'd go and get in the ditch with my soldiers and be digging or whatever, foxholes. I didn't care, right? And I had superiors over me, like, Why are you in there with them? Why?
Yeah.
Because I want to. Like, I love this.
Yeah.
Like, why are you driving a truck? You're supposed to be in like office. What? No. So take that opinionated crap of other people and the way that they think and that bubble that you put in your mind, throw that crap out and believe in yourself and say yes for you for once. Yes for getting better healthy. Yes for you taking rest days. Yes for communicating within your family. It's just you and your family.
Yeah.
Why are you letting other parameters come inside your household? Walking right in your front door, and like, your shit sucks.
Yeah.
Really? And you're allowing it? Come on now.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowing that to, resonate in your brain.
And you got to reject it. You have to reject it. And I love that you've said that, because a lot of people are afraid to be seen in their business. And I've had some of the most incredible women launch their business and just come out full force and just share their business and stuff after working together, because they really had to give themselves permission to be seen as that. Because oftentimes we put ourselves or our family or our friends have put us in this box. And when we begin to seep out of that box or outside of that label, right, they don't know how to handle you or how to deal with you. And so you are redefining boundaries, you're redefining your identity, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to do that. Redefine the values that you live by in life. And when someone comes in with nonsense, say that's your belief, it's not mine, and go about your day, right? Don't allow it to uproot you. Like,
I love it. I would tell you this. If we have listeners listening right now, men or women, and they don't have the support or they have fear of launching, hit us up. Like, I'll spread your business name. I don't care. Like, let's win together, right? Like, what is the hesitation? Like, hit us up, right? Like, if you need a couple of people in your corner that have advice and have been through some struggles, like, hit us up. Like, you're not alone. Like, put us in your circle. Like, I know we would be happy to help you in whatever form that is. You know what I mean? Like,
and we want to hear from you too. So make sure that you submit your questions and whatnot under the, what is it called? The poll or the questions on Spotify. That way we can come back on our next episode and really just tap into.
Yes.
Because we're here for you, but we're not here to convince you that,
Or hold your hand.
Exactly. So it's about understanding that there are people who are out here who have walked the walk, right? And that we're here to help and support and guide, but it takes you being open to receive, because we're not going to stop helping the people that we're here to help and doing the things that we are here to do, because you want to be convinced. I think that is really big as well. And that's oftentimes a sign of our ego, right? Our ego being like, haywire. So I love this conversation, and perhaps we can touch on this a little bit more in our coming episodes. And I look forward to any of the questions and comments and things that you all leave on the polls. Did you want to say anything before we close out, Bryan?
No, I just want to say thank you again. Thank you to all your followers, your listeners. Thank you for allowing me. It's a blessing to be on here. And at the end of the day, if I can impact one life with you or anyone to courageously get out there and do something for themselves and the people that they're surrounded by, we've done our due diligence since today, in our session here.
Yeah, I love that. Courageously do that for yourself. I like that. That's amazing. All right, my Soulpreneur Life family and friends, as always, you can stay connected. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. You can book your free discovery call by visiting soulpreneurlifellc.com. And in the description, you will find a way to connect with me, to connect with Bryan, and also to submit your questions so that we can carry on this conversation. I absolutely just love having you as my co-host for Off the Cuff. You are amazing. This collaboration has really it's given a new light and a a new energy to, what is being shared. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to our next episode together.
Yes.
All right. Until next time, fam and friends.